Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brian Hanley. Welcome back to Steelers Almighty. Appreciate everybody being in here and getting up with us this morning to talk a little Steelers football. Look, got a good show. There's some wild stuff going on, man. Just wild stuff involving tjwatt. We're going to break all that down. First up, tjwatt's upset about his contract negotiations. Jeremy Fowler's got some news about that. We'll talk about exactly why tjwatt is upset and should he be upset. I'm not even sure. I mean, it doesn't matter whether I'm sure. You can't talk about somebody else's money. You know, if they're upset about it, that's them. We don't pocket watch on Steelers Almighty. Next thing up, there's some wild trade rumors going around about tjwatt. There's about 4 or 5 of them that we're going to break down that I've heard some stuff about. One of them is absolutely ridiculous. Our man Big G was crashing out, thought it was a good idea. We'll talk about that. We'll basically snitch on Big G. We'll call him out a little bit. He won't mind. And then lastly, the upgrades to the Pittsburgh Steelers, kind of the new look, I guess. Pittsburgh Steelers hasn't moved the needle as far as the betting odds are concerned. So we'll discuss all of that and more. So I appreciate, like I said, man, all you guys getting up with us this morning. There's always a good time to talk Steelers football. Felicia is in the house. First off, Felicia has became a member or just became a member. She's been a member. Felicia's been a member. I don't know what that's all about, but we appreciate everybody being in here. Again, man, if you want to get on the show, you know how to do that. Super chats are wide open, to get your comment, question, or rant up on the screen. Also, if you want to become a member and ensure that your comments get up on the screen, you know how to do that. Obviously, the link is at the front of the page. You can always get in there that way and want to make sure if you want to become a member, you can. Link is also in the comment section, so we appreciate that. So thank you very, very much. So, yeah, Felicia, membership was canceled. Don't know why. It is what it is. Sometimes YouTube does that. But I also mentioned we're in transition of doing some new stuff with the memberships. So if the memberships are basically starting over, so if you got kicked out and you were already a member, you'll have to re-up. That's one of the things. Again, we're doing it. It was to your advantage. We made a couple of changes in YouTube. They say, hey, if you make any change to anything, if you change one letter in a word that you're spelling, it kicks all your members out. It's crazy. So I think that might be going on, but it is what it is. But we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Hey, Vaughn, what's happening? Derek, what's going on? So we appreciate you guys, man. Let's get into this. So, whoo. Oh, man, something got in my throat. I apologize, man. Whoo. Speaking of that, you can always get your merch too at SteelersAlmightyShop.com. Make sure you go there, pick up your stuff. So tjwatt is upset about his contract negotiations. Jeremy Fowler basically has a quote that he was talking about on Get Up. It says, so Watt appears to be unhappy with the fact that, look, you're bringing in all these other players. Fowler said on ESPN's Get Up, you're bringing in these veterans. You're paying DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey a big salary. That could be money that's allocated to me. Here's my thinking on that. First off, to me personally, I think that is kind of a made up quote and kind of made up BS. That's my first thought, is because the Steelers have plenty of money, and I don't think that anything that they're paying DK or Jalen Ramsey has any effect on them whatsoever. Super chat this morning, Babar man Jordan. Would you rather have TJ for 5 years at $40 million or draft picks and a wide receiver? We'll talk about that here in just a second. Appreciate you supporting the channel, Jordan. And I see members are coming back in. Yeah, it's just what you guys said, or what I said earlier, is that memberships, they started over, so you had to re-up. So I appreciate everybody that has, man. Thank you. But I don't think it has any effect on tjwatt's money. So I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not there. I'm not TJ Watt's representative. I'm damn sure not TJ Watt. So if that's the case, maybe it's a negotiating ploy, but the Steelers have plenty of money. And to sign TJ Watt to an extension, what somebody else is making has zero effect on him. Zero. I want to make sure everybody understands that. There is no effect on the Steelers could pay him $60 million if they wanted to. Now, I would advise against that, but that's not going to have any effect on what somebody else is making. So it just, I don't know. The rumors are out there. TJ Watt's unhappy about it, but didn't this happen the last time? In 2021, TJ Watt, what did he sign? Like 3 days before the season started? And so I don't think it really has an effect on any of that at all. I think he may be mad because the Steelers are posturing and the Steelers are standing up and saying, look, TJ, we love you. We want to have you, but it has to make economic sense for us. The Steelers before, or maybe with other players, whatever the case may be, in a different time, they didn't always do the best thing financially for the Steelers. Big Ben is a perfect example of that. They didn't do what was best for the Pittsburgh Steelers by having Ben Roethlisberger his last year especially. That was a nightmare. Ben couldn't move. I'm not saying he wasn't an effective quarterback, but at $27 million, I mean, it didn't necessarily hamstring the Steelers, but they didn't need to pay him for that. They didn't. And he was a shell of himself, by the way. So at some point, teams got to say, you know what? We love you, but this doesn't make sense. We've got to do what makes sense for us. Now, here's the thing, guys. And you guys know me well enough to know that I'm usually always pro player. I'm on the player's side when it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then I'm not going to be on the player's side. But when it makes sense, I'm always going to be on the player's side. I am not one of those people that no matter what takes the owner's side. There's a lot of fans that always are on the owner's side. I'm not that guy. Okay. However, I just said it has to make sense. And we're going to talk about this tomorrow on the podcast too, is that a 5-year deal doesn't make sense to pay TJ Watt that kind of money. Or you can do a 5-year deal, but give them the money up front, have 2 voided years so the Steelers can spread it out over time so it makes financial sense. But at $40 million, and if he doesn't want to agree to something like that, $40 million for a 36-year-old that has a propensity to get hurt. It's not like TJ Watt doesn't get hurt. Now, you don't blame anybody for getting hurt, but it happens. It happens. So that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. I believe that the Steelers are just saying, look, we want to have you here, but it's got to make sense to both sides. It's got to make sense to both sides. And quite frankly, TJ Watt, we actually hold the cards a little bit here, because if we just don't sign you, I would assume you're going to still come back and play. Hey, Al Lewis, we appreciate you becoming a member, man. Thank you very much. Thank you for supporting the channel. So my thing is, if you don't want to sign a new deal, great. You don't want to sign a new deal. We won't make you do that. But it is economically in our favor because we'll just franchise you next year. And then you won't be able to go anywhere. So, and if you want to sit out, what is it? They can sit out 6 weeks or 10 weeks or something and just come back. We'll plan for that too. We will plan for that too. So the Steelers are playing a little bit of hardball. I don't think they want to go down that road, but make it make sense, TJ Watt. Give a little, give a little. Both sides got to come to an agreement. That's obviously it's a negotiation. And again, a lot of this could just be posturing and rumors because we don't know. We're not in that room. I've talked to some people, some Steelers insiders, and one of the things is, the last time that the negotiation went on, the Steelers kind of went to TJ Watt and were like, hey, man, you should be happy that you're a Steeler. And TJ Watt hit back and said, you should be happy that you have me, you know? And both sides are true. And that's the same thing in this situation. Hey, you should be glad that you're a Pittsburgh Steeler. And TJ Watt should say, you're right. But you should be also just as equally glad that you have me. Now, what do we do moving forward? Is 3 years, 5 years, a 3-year deal makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. I know there was somebody in the chat that said not even a 3-year deal. Yeah, you got to give them a 3-year deal. And because I say this all the time, and I know some of you disagree, 30-year-old is not the death sentence or an ancient football player these days. That's just not it. Everybody equates 30-year-old running backs to every single position in the National Football League. I'm sorry. 30 isn't old everywhere. That's just not how it works. Some guys that have constantly been injured or maybe at a running back position, yes, 30 might be old. But just because you're 30 doesn't mean that you're finished. It doesn't mean that. I know the media likes to tell us that, oh, he's 30 years old, he's finished. No, he's not. It doesn't mean that. I'm not saying that some guys aren't, but no, some guys, you're not finished at 30. Hell, you're still in your athletic prime at 30. But the problem with paying TJ that kind of money, 5 years at 36, yeah, that's old. Now, you say, well, look at Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward is an anomaly. I mean, how many 35-year-olds are out there becoming first-team All-Pros in the National Football League? I'm not at defensive tackle. I'm not saying there's not 35-year-old guys that are out there playing, but there's few and far between. But I'm not saying as far as defensive tackles, I'm just saying at that level, how many guys are doing that? So while I know 30 isn't old, 36 is old in football years. Absolutely. You can't be paying a guy $40 million at 36. That just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Again, Cam Hayward's not making that, and he's a defensive tackle. Now, I'm not saying D tackles need to make that kind of money, but there's got to be some sort of concession here for TJ Watt. And again, these are rumors, so we don't know if they're necessarily true. So we don't know that that's not necessarily true. My man Hughes saying 31-year-old is not worth $40 million. What if that 31-year-old is getting 22 sacks in a year? That guy's not worth $40 million? First of all, here's the thing. Telling somebody what they are worth is watching their pockets. We don't do that at Steelers Almighty. We don't watch pockets here. So telling somebody how much money somebody is worth is crazy. Okay, that's number one. Somebody's worth how much somebody's willing to pay them. Let's start there. But if we don't think that TJ Watt is good anymore, then just say that. Don't say he's not worth this, because the man last year had 11 and a half sacks. I think everybody would just say that he was hurt the last 4 games of the season. I mean, everybody saw it. I think he had a broken thumb, and he also had a sprained ankle. He couldn't do anything. He was out there, but he literally could not do anything. But that has to play into it too. And that has to play. This is not the first time TJ Watt's been hurt. So that has to play into it. So I get it. So that part of it is different. Also, $40 million. People get it, again, pocket watching. It's not about the dollar amount. It's about how much of that is towards the cap. So if TJ Watt was making $200 million a year, but it's only 8% of the salary cap, you can live with that. That's what I'm telling you. So don't get so caught up in how much somebody's making. Get caught up in how much it is a percentage of the cap. And we can't be so much about watching what somebody's pocket is. So it just, to me, that's tacky. That's just tacky. If you don't like them as a player, you can say you don't like them as a player. I get it. But to try to say that they're not any good, or if you don't think they're any good, fine. But hey, who are we to say how much somebody's worth? They're worth what somebody's willing to pay you, just like your house. Your house is worth what somebody's willing to pay you. Same deal here. So, do we want TJ Watt on the football team? Yeah, apparently in the chat, there's some of you that don't. There's some of you that just say, we don't want TJ Watt to be a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers anymore. I understand. I totally understand. So, but just say that. Let's not get into watching how much he makes and saying this and that, because you have to pay somebody. And why not pay a guy that's proven over the years that he can still be that guy? I mean, so did he take a step back last year? He did. Once he got hurt, he did. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Somebody calling me. Don't be calling me. But I still like TJ Watt. So I just, could it be the money? Could the Steelers be haggling and not wanting to make him the highest paid, non-quarterback in the league? Is that what it is? Could be. Could be. Maybe the Steelers are, hey, man, we'll give you a little bit more than Max Crosby, but we're not going to give you $40 million because the Cleveland Browns are a bunch of idiots. We're not going to do that. We're not going to hamstring ourselves like that. I mean, and that's basically what I think a lot of this is. Jordan supporting the channel again with the super chat says, I love TJ, but 40 plus just for him to feel better than Miles is crazy. I mean, it is, but we're all men and women of principle. We're all men and women of principle. So I get it. Torsia says, if we trade TJ, so would this be the craziest roster flip ever? Has there ever been a crazier offseason? I mean, no. I don't think so. I mean, the Steelers are not one of those teams that go out and make big waves and big splashes in the offseason. So I love the change up that they've done this year. I love it. So Robert Smith, I agree. He should be paid and paid well, but I don't think he has to be the highest paid player in the league. That's crazy. I don't think it's crazy for him to want that. I don't think it's crazy for him to want it. Do we have to do it? Probably not. Probably not. So, but it is what it is. It is what it is. What TJ Watt would, or Jordan says with the super chat, says, what TJ Watt would you be happy with? What TJ trade would you be happy with? Sorry. We'll talk about that here in a sec. I'll get to it. So, Alexis says TJ deserves it. Pay the man. I mean, yeah. That's the whole thing. Let's just get to it. Let's get to it. What wild trade rumors are running rampant right now? Let's just get to it right now and stop BSing. So there are some trades that have gone out there. Now, I'm going to throw out the first trade, and I'm going to call my man out, my man Big G. Big G was crashing out yesterday. He sends me a text of a trade and said, well, here's the trade. First off, it was with the Eagles, because we've heard some stuff about the Eagles. Eagles trying to get TJ Watt. But the trade was Nolan Smith and a late round draft pick for TJ Watt. My man Big G said, run it. I'm like, run what? What are you talking about, man? I'm like, this is not something that we need to even think about doing. Nolan Smith, who has a total of 7.5 sacks in 2 years, and a late round draft pick for TJ Watt. I'm like, man, that is the definition of crashing out. Lord have mercy. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. I mean, I see it in here. Hell no. Hell no. Yes, exactly. So, no, I just, I mean, you talk about fleecing, people saying that the Steelers fleeced Miami, which I don't think they did. I think they won the trade with Miami, but I don't think they fleeced Miami by any means. But you talk about, that would be the fleece of the decade. That would be a bigger fleece than Steelers getting a number 32 pick for Chase Claypool. That would make that look like a horrible trade. Literally. Jiminy Christmas. I'm like, come on, Big G, man. You got to get it together, brother. and he agreed. He agreed. I think he's just, and a lot of fans, not just him, it's a lot of us are just over with the craziness. I think a lot of us are just like, come on, man. What are we doing here? What are we doing? So, but that was one trade out there. Now we're going to go through these. Then there's basically 4 more trades. What would make sense? 2020. Now this is with the Patriots. 2026 second round draft pick, 2027 third round draft pick, and safety Jabril Peppers. I say hell no. 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 A second this year, a third next year, and Jabril Peppers. Nope. Super chat by my man Jordan. He said, I would trade TJ for 1 first, second, just to have more capital to move up next year's draft. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a ton of sense, actually. But that Patriot trade would be, before they even stop talking, I would hang up the phone. Hey, man. Hey, what's going on, Omar? Hey, man, we want TJ. Yeah, man, give us a 2026 second. Click. I mean, that's where I would start. Click. I don't want to hear nothing else. If you're starting out with a 2026 second round, I immediately hang up the phone. And then when you call back, I don't answer it. I make you call me back a couple of times. Yeah, no. And a third next year in 2027 and Jabril Peppers. Now, Jabril Peppers is a good football player. Don't get me wrong. He's a good football player. But he can be part of the deal. But start with first round pick 2026. Then we can continue the conversation. If it doesn't start with that, then we're moving on. So there's that. Another trade, potential trade that's out there with the Washington Commanders. 2026 first round pick, 2027 second and third round selections for tjwatt. So you get a first in 2026, and then in 27 you get a second and a third round pick. Now, that's not terrible. Now, I know there's pro TJ Watt fans out there that are, we can never trade TJ. But that isn't a horrible trade. That isn't horrible. I don't know that I would necessarily do it, but I'm damn sure not hanging up the phone. Hey, what's going on, Omar? 2026. Look, we're going to give you a 2026 for TJ Watt, first round pick, 2027 second, and a third in 2027. What do you think? Let me get back to you. I'm intrigued. Let me get back to you. That would be my thing. So that would be my thing. We just have to figure that part out. That's not a horrible trade. I don't know that that's the right trade, but that's not horrible. Now, Alexis and Lindsay, they said TJ should not be traded. He should be off limits. You can't do that, though, unfortunately. Not in today's NFL. You can't just say everybody is off limits. I understand. I love TJ too. But if somebody's willing to give you the farm for a football player, you have to at least think about that. Because the farm could be more valuable than the player. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying the Steelers should necessarily do it, but you can't just say they're off the table no matter what. So you can't just do that. You can't do it. Now, Derek says you did not trade him this year because we've already went all in. And that's my whole point with it, too. It's like, if you haven't done everything to go all in to try to win this year, it would make sense. But the Steelers made some moves that are like, yeah, we're trying to win something this year, at least a playoff game, which we'll talk about on the podcast tomorrow. If that's the case, then you got to have TJ Watt. So Lindsay says everybody else can go, just keep TJ. I get it, man. I get it. So, And boxing is like Troy was forced out, so TJ can go. Troy was forced out after 12 years of football. Troy had slipped a lot. So, yeah. TJ hasn't slipped as much as what Troy had. That's the difference. You're boxing, you're 100% correct, brother. 1,000,000% correct. Because they told Troy, look, you can either retire or get cut. You decide, and we need your answer in less than 24 hours. And at first, he was going to, he was just willing to get cut, but he's like, I don't want to play anywhere else. I've slipped. I'm done playing football. Good for him. Good for him. So that's another trade, though. Now, here's another trade that's again, these are all rumors, but they're substantiated rumors. The Lions call. The Lions are like, hey, Omar, look, man, we want tjwatt, brother. What do you think? So here's what we're willing to give you. 2026, a first and a third in 2026, plus a 2027 second round pick. Excuse me, say that again. Yeah, man, in 2026, we're willing to give you a first and a third, and in 2027, we're willing to give you a second. Give me an hour if I'm Omar Khan. I'm just saying, a first and a third and a second the following year, you have to listen to that. You have to listen. So just think about it this way. How good do we think that TJ Watt's going to be 3 years from now? Is he going to be a 15 sack a year guy? If he is, I don't think you make the deal. But if you don't think he's going to be a 15 sack a year guy, that's a deal the Pittsburgh Steelers should take. I'm just telling you right now. If you believe that in 3 years, TJ Watt's going to be getting you 15 sacks a year, then, you don't need to make that move. But if you don't believe that, and I mean 15, not 10, not 11, 15 a year. If he ain't doing that, I think that's a deal that you take, man. I think that's a deal that you take. I know there's people out there you don't want to get rid of a TJ Watt. I totally understand. But I think that's a deal you take. I really do. A first and a third plus a second in 2027. How do you not? I don't know. Steelers are trying to get a quarterback. They're trying to get, they got 12 picks. That would add, now you have 15 picks. And do you know how many that the Steelers would have in the first 3 rounds? So you'd have 2 firsts, a second, and what do they have now? 3 thirds? That's a lot of picks early on, man. It's a lot of picks early in the season. I'm just saying, or early in the draft. Woo. Look, I see you all in the chat. People have changed their tune in the chat. They're like, hold on, Big B. Hold on. If we're going to get that, yeah. Yeah, that's the whole thing is like, it doesn't matter where the Lions are picking. It's still a first-round pick. People still value first-round picks. It's like, well, their first-round pick is 27. Doesn't matter. Teams still value that. If teams still value a first-round pick in 2027 or the 27th pick in the first round, why are teams trade up into the second round? Why do they do that? Because they value the pick. Teams trade up into the third round or to trade up to get higher into the third round. Why do they do that? Because they value the pick. So we can't act like that's not good enough. Doesn't matter where Detroit's first round pick would be. It's still in the first round. That's extremely valuable. Extremely valuable. So you got to think about that one. I don't have to think about that one. If the Lions said we want TJ Watt and it's a first and a third and a 2027 second round pick, I think you take it. I think you take it. So that's That would just be me. That would be me. So that would be me. So Mike Smith says with these D-backs, 15 sacks a year is probably reasonable. Are these D-backs still going to be with Pittsburgh in 3 years? That's what I'm talking about. 3 years down the line, if you think that tjwatt is going to be getting you 15 sacks a year, then maybe you don't take that deal. But if you don't think he's going to get you 15 sacks a year, I just think you have to take that deal. So I do. What's going on, Kenneth Jones? We appreciate it. Thanks for getting up this morning with us. So Boxy Man said the NFL draft is always special no matter the round. You're exactly right about that. You are right about that. So, but we'll see. We will see. Hey, just as a reminder, anybody that's in here, if you were a member previously, make sure that you sign up to become a member again because, again, we made some changes. Basically, we lowered the prices on memberships. And so because we did that, YouTube kicked everybody out and you have to re-up. So it's like I said, I was telling you all it was in your all's favor. We lowered the price. We lowered all the prices to become a member. So make sure you go and sign up again. You might even want to move up a tier because the prices got lower. And so you can get more access to more things. So make sure you guys are a part of that. And make sure you guys are able to get into the chat. So Lindsay says, why are teams willing to give you that for a player? There's a reason. So how is it not worth the money? Talking about for a player. Because the Lions think they can win a Super Bowl right now. That's why the Lions would do that. The Lions are in a win now mode. They already have Aiden Hutchinson on one side. You add tjwatt to that. That's why the Lions are willing to do that, because they think that if they add tjwatt, they can win a Super Bowl. That's why. So it's, and again, we talked about this earlier. It's what somebody's willing to give you is how much somebody's worth. If they're willing to give that, they think he's worth it. The Steelers could say he is worth it. We'll move on. Thank you. We got what we needed. I know that's a terrible way to look at it, but we're moving on. So that's what it is. That's what it is, man. My man Vaughn moved up as far as his tiers and memberships. We appreciate you, man. So, but yeah, that's what it is. Now, Alexis says, and this is a good point, I would be upset if I was TJ too. You're paying unproven players. Well, hold on. Who's an unproven player that they're paying? Because just because they played somewhere else doesn't mean they're not proven. But unproven players, he's been here putting in work. He definitely has better stats than any rusher since coming in, including Garrett. Okay. And I get that. I totally get that. But in a Steelers uniform, that doesn't matter. You can't, the NFL isn't based on only being a Steeler. By the way, 43 DMB just became a member. Thank you, man. We appreciate you supporting the channel, brother. Thank you very much. The NFL has free agency. So you can't just count somebody's stats with the Steelers. Like DK Metcalf has been a star player in the National Football League. That's what matters. You can't just say because he hasn't been with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So I get what you're saying, but you can't just only count what they've done in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, and that's the whole thing about DK. You can't just account or say, hey, well, DK hadn't been here. And I heard that that's part of Watt's problems. And then we talked about that earlier, is that Watt's like, hey, man, you're paying these guys, these other veterans. Maybe some of that money should have come to me. But again, the Steelers can pay tjwatt, and what they're paying DK, what they're paying Jalen Ramsey, that doesn't have anything to do with him. Nothing. His issue is he wants to be paid more than Myles Garrett. Here's my thinking on that. Now follow me. Remember when Deshaun Watson got that idiotic contract from the Browns? He got just an idiotic contract from the Browns. What was it? 230 guaranteed dollars. And I think the next guy at the time, it was like 150, something like that. And they took it all the way up to 230. Did anybody else immediately go to 230? Nope. Did Joe Burrow? Nope. Here's the one. Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes. Is Patrick Mahomes being paid $230 million guaranteed dollars by the Chiefs? Nope. So if Patrick Mahomes can say, I'm not getting paid the highest paid, TJ could say the same thing. Now, does he have to say that? No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. But that doesn't mean he can't. So Jordan just moved up with his membership. He just upgraded. We appreciate you, Jordan, man. Thank you very much, brother. So that's the difference. So is that if the Chiefs are willing to say, and Patrick Mahomes is willing to say, I don't have to be the highest paid player in the league. I mean, TJ can say that too. Now, I'm never going to say TJ needs to say that because I can't be a hypocrite and say don't count his pockets and then turn around and say TJ take a pay cut. No, I'm not going to tell him that. I'm saying he could say that, but he doesn't have to. You know, and there's other examples around the league where guys didn't say that they needed to be the highest paid player because it was their turn to get paid. They didn't do that. So there is precedence out there. I get it. 43, I just got my membership. I'm back in there, Big B. We appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. So Lindsay said, what's the record without TJ? Everyone complaining about trading Mika and creating a hole. Who is replacing TJ's giant hole? First of all, pause. But, I mean, you're right. I think they're 1-10 without TJ Watt playing, which is god-awful. God-awful. But here's the thing, the flip side to that. TJ Watt played all those games at the end of the year last year, and they lost every one of them. TJ Watt was invisible in the playoff game last year. And he was out there playing. Now, he was hurt, but he was out there playing. So that's the thing. It's like, I get everybody's talking about the record of the Steelers when he doesn't play. Well, I saw him play last year. And how many games last year did TJ have where he literally didn't have a stat? That's the guy you're supposed to play $40 million. You got to do more. Got to do more. Darren Jackson became a member. Appreciate you supporting the channel again, man. Thank you, brother. Steeler Lee, same thing. We appreciate you. So, Joseph, I had to throw that pause in there. You know that. Talking about who's filling TJ's giant hole. Lord have mercy. Pause all the way. So, but that's the difference. That's the difference. Is that it's a pride thing. We all have pride. And it's not like TJ hasn't earned the money. Of course he's earned the money. Big Bird became a member. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So Alexis says, I'm confused. You have the money, pay him. Offense was terrible. Defense was on the field 90% of the time. We need balance. So shouldn't you pay offensive guys? I mean, I get what you're saying. Hey, if defense is not the problem and you need the offense to stay out there, shouldn't you go pay offensive guys? Because that would be my thought. But Torsha, you got to stop, man. You got to stop. We're trying to have serious discussions about football here, and here you go, man. You got to stop. You got to stop. And boxing, you bring up a good point, man. Steelers have a rich history at LB. We'll fill it. Yeah. I mean, the Steelers draft outside linebackers pretty damn well. Pretty damn well. It's not saying they've never missed. So we appreciate you, Big Bird. Thank you, brother. We appreciate you. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Steeler Lee says Khan does not have to show loyalty to players that Colbert drafted. And you know what? I don't get caught up in that. I don't think it should matter who drafted you. You know, I don't think that part should matter at all. But the thing that I think that should matter is, can you help us win moving forward? That's it. I don't think it should matter as far as a loyalty that somebody drafted. I get your point, Steeler Lee. I 100% get your point. But if that's the way that we're going to base it, then there's going to be good players that you get rid of just because you don't want to be loyal to somebody else. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. I think you just gotta. I think you gotta move forward. I think you just pay who you think is going to help you win in the future, and you base it on that. So, Alexa said they did pay offensive guys. They paid DK, but I don't know. They haven't paid any offensive guys. I mean, who else did they pay? They're not paying any offensive guys any real money, as far as NFL is concerned. Dennis with the super chat. Thank you, Dennis, for supporting the channel. He said TJ is the closest to LT in the NFL. That's not true. Only slowed by 3 teams. But if there's value out there for him, I'd trade him. Steelers create outside linebackers like shark's teeth. You're right about that. The Steelers do create that. I'll push back on the closest thing to LT. We love tjwatt, but tjwatt is a speed rusher. If you stop that, he tries to come underneath. I get that. I'm not saying he's a one-trick pony, but he is a speed rusher. Let's be careful on the comparisons to LT. Myles Garrett is closer to LT than tjwatt is. And I know you're not going to like that, but it's the truth. It's the truth. Micah Parsons, which first of all, I don't think anybody compares to Lawrence Taylor, but I am biased because I think Lawrence Taylor is the best football player that's ever played in the National Football League. That's me. Now you're crazy. Hey, I watched a lot of football in my life. I saw them create a position to be important based on this man. The left tackle wasn't really that big of an important position in the league until Lawrence Taylor came along. So that's just me. So I don't like people comparing to LT until I see it, and I'll know it when I see it. I haven't seen it yet. And a guy that had coached LT multiple years, that's a Hall of Fame coach, says the same thing. Bill Belichick says the same thing. He's like, nah. When they were trying to compare Micah Parsons to him, he's like, hold on, man. We're talking about Lawrence Taylor. I mean, Lawrence Taylor was a guy that could go out drinking all night, go out and we'll just say stuffing things up his nose, doing that all night, come into practice on a Thursday, draw everything up on the board, know exactly where everybody needs to be, and then go out and dominate a football game on Sunday. That Lawrence Taylor was smart on the whiteboard, on the field, so it just gets tricky. But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying about TJ, man. I get what you're saying. No big QB contract for 4 or 5 years. Work it out with TJ. I mean, there you're right. There's no big contract for a quarterback coming up anytime soon. There is not that. So there is that. But we'll see. The last trade, and I think this one is an absolute no. The Rams said a 2026 first-round draft pick and Byron Young as the edge. I'm like, yeah, you got to do more than that. Like, hey, Omar. Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, we want tjwatt. We're going to give you a 2026 first-round pick and Byron Young. Yeah, get back to us, man. Get back to us when you're serious. Got to be more than that. Got to be more than that. So, yeah, got to be more. Got to be more than just one pick and a player. It's got to be more. So After school, hey, I'm not on Thunderbird right now, man. No, no. So Alexis says, I don't like that. And no, TJ is the closest. The Steelers put themselves in bad situations. They're scared. I thought the objective is to win, not scoot by. I mean, do we think that TJ Watt gives them the best chance to win for the next 3 years? If it is, then you keep him. I think that's kind of the thing here. It's like, do you believe that TJ Watt's going to give you high level performance for the next 3 years? If you believe that he's going to, this is not even a discussion. You keep him, you pay him, 5-year deal, 3 years, it voided after 3 years, give him all his money up front, and you move on. But if you have hesitations on whether you think TJ Watt in year 3 is going to be giving you that same high level production, you can't pay him. It's just that simple. It's literally that simple. You can't pay TJ Watt if you think you're only going to get 2 years out of him. Nope. Can't do it. Cannot do it. It's got to be 3. Any big contract that you give somebody, you have to have 3 years of production. If it's only 2, then only give them a 2-year deal. That's it. But it's got to be 3. It's got to be 3. You can't base it off of 2. So, can't just do it. Can't just do it. So, that's just me. You might disagree, but yeah, you can't do that. Can't do that. So, got to be willing. The willingness on both sides, we got to start making some sense of this. So, moving on, man. So the Steelers made some upgrades, as you guys know. You know, we added Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith. You know, we made some upgrades here, and it hasn't moved the needle as far as the betting needle at all. Like the Steelers went into the offseason once the schedule came out and who we had on our team. And at that time, none of those guys were on our team. The Steelers were favored to win 6 games. After adding Rodgers, Ramsey, and Smith, the Steelers are still only favored to win 6 games. First of all, I find it laughable. Like, we beat the Ravens every year. Like, I know we got whipped by them in the playoffs in the last game of the year, or in the second time we played them last year. We did. But the Steelers beat the Ravens every year. They're going to beat them again this year. The Steelers beat the Bengals every year. I don't care how good the Bengals are. I don't care how explosive their offense is. The Steelers beat the Bengals every year. Now, granted, these obviously will change as the season progresses. This is just what they're seeing now, but I find it laughable that the betting line wouldn't have moved at all. That's just weird. And maybe the over or the spread has moved. But you don't think the Steelers can beat the Ravens? You don't think the Steelers are going to not only not beat the Ravens once, but the Bengals once? It's wild to me. It's just wild. So, Tom, TD Tom, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining back again, man. We appreciate it. So, yes, only 6 is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So, Torsion is like, so what you're saying is I should put money on the Steelers winning more than 6 games. The problem is you got to figure out what 6. But yeah, I don't think there's a line out there saying the Steelers are only going to the over-under as far as wins is -8.5. So, and look, we're not satisfied with 9-8 seasons, but until I see the Steelers have a losing season, I'll never bet that they're going to have a losing. I'm never taking the under on 9 wins. Never, ever, ever. Until I see it happen, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Mark Malone, my man Mark Malone says easy money. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and yes, Anthony, the media and especially PFF hate the Steelers. Look, the media, I don't think hate the Steelers. I think the media likes to talk bad about the Steelers because, number one, it gets clicks. Number two, it gets ratings because there's so many Steeler fans out there, just like myself, that get pissed off with the Colin Cowherds of the world and get pissed off at, ESPN, the Dan Orlovskis of the world, just constantly bashing us. I mean, look, those are billion-dollar companies. They know what they're doing. So they get after us. They get under our skin. It works. It works. And so they know what they're doing. I get it. And you know what? It's always going to work on me. It's always going to work on me. I'm always going to get mad. I'm always going to click on it. And more than likely, I'm going to click on it and then come on here and then talk about it. So it works. They know what they're doing, man. They know what they're doing. So Digital Dust, what's going on? Thanks for supporting the channel, man. He said no team that lost its number one QB, wide receiver, and running back has won more than 5 games. That's what Vegas sees. And I get it. I totally get it. But all those other teams haven't been the Steelers either. I mean, that's fandom talking. You're right. But that's Vegas is different. And don't get me wrong, Vegas is right a lot. A lot. And so I get that part. But yeah. Steelers are just different. Steelers are different. I was going to say this, Mr. Chef Salad, and I prefer Chef Salad over Walter. And I know your name is Walter. No, I like Chef Salad. Steelers winning in Cincinnati is almost guaranteed. I mean, don't we win in Cincinnati every year? Like every year we win in Cincinnati. So when I came out with my early prediction, which obviously we'll have another one before the season starts, is I always pick the Steelers to win in Cincinnati because they always do. They always do. So Theron says, I think the Steelers fans are passionate and just not legal gamblers. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. So Christopher says Steeler Nation is the biggest fan base in all of sports. You may be right. There's some others up there, the Cowboys, the Yankees, the Dodgers, but yeah, the Packers. But yeah, Steelers are right up there with everybody. I mean, the thing that impressed me, it was 14 years ago, 2011, when the Steelers played in Kansas City. I remember Landry Jones was the quarterback. Ben had gotten hurt. And at the time, I lived in Kansas City. And my wife's a diehard Chiefs fan. Don't hold that against me, man. Don't hold it against me. She was born there. And we went to a game. It was literally my first Steelers game that I went to live. I've been a Steelers fan my whole life, but didn't live close, didn't have a ton of money growing up. So it's like, am I going to travel to go to a Pittsburgh Steeler game? No, that was not in the cards. But you come to Kansas City, and I live there, and I'm working. Yes, I'm going to a Steeler game. We went. At the time, 30% of the stands were Steeler fans. That's an Arrowhead Stadium, and the Chiefs were good. I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, this is what you keep talking about and you keep hearing, you keep seeing. 30% of Arrowhead was there. I went back to the playoff game. I can't remember what year that was. I should remember. 2020 or 2016 is the last time Steelers won a playoff game. Went to that playoff game. Again, 20%, 25% of the stands were Steeler fans. That was in Arrowhead Stadium in a divisional playoff game. 25% of Arrowhead. And us Steeler fans, it's easy to see us. Everybody's got a terrible towel. Everybody's running around swinging those terrible towels. It was insane. Absolutely insane. So we'll see. We will see. Vaughn says, it's okay, B. My wife's a Bengals fan. Oh, poor Vaughn. Man. Brutal. I get it, though, man. I get it. So, yeah, man, we got some great fans all over the place. It's interesting. But here's the games the Steelers are favored in. They're favored week 1 at the Jets, -3. Week 2 at the Seahawks, -1.5. Week 6 versus the Browns, -6.5. Week 9 versus the Colts, -3.5. Week 15 versus the Dolphins, -2.5. in week 17 at the Browns, minus 2.5. So those are the 6 games that the Steelers are favored in as of today. So, oh no, Mr. Chef Salad. My dad is a Browns fan. Yike. That's tough. That's tough. Those are tough conversations you have to have with your pops, brother. Those are tough conversations telling your dad that I don't even know how old your dad is. I have no clue. But here's what I could say. It's tough to have a conversation with him. And if he's in his 50s, 60s, or even in his 70s, to be able to say to him, in your lifetime, the team that you root for has only been good 5 times. That's a tough conversation to have with your pops, man. That's tough. That's tough. You know, I can get on here and I can bash Browns fans, and you know I do. You know, and we can laugh at them and all that stuff. But to have to say that to your father's face, that, hey, man, in your whole life, the team that you root for has only been good 5 times. That cannot. He's 72. There you go. That is not a good conversation to have with your father. Lord have mercy. I do not envy that at all. Man, that's tough. And the only reason I'm laughing, look, my dad died when I was 15. So we didn't get to have those kind of moments a ton. But I just remember the teams, and my dad was a Oklahoma Sooners football fan. He was a high school football coach, and he loved Oklahoma. He liked Barry Switzer. He thought Barry Switzer was a genius. But when I went to college, I went to Kansas State, and at that time, Oklahoma was absolute garbage. They were garbage. If I would have said, hey, Dad, are you coming to OU game? Because we're literally going to OU. We're going to Norman to blow them out. That wouldn't have been an easy conversation for me. So I can only imagine, you know, the conversations that go on when your dad is a Browns fan and he roots for absolute. It's not, I can't even say he roots for mediocrity. Mediocrity would be in a Bengals fan. Being a Browns fan isn't even rooting for mediocrity. It's below that. Just rooting for poverty. Just rooting for a poverty franchise. Ugh. Brutal. So, before the 70s, the Steelers were the Browns of the NFL. You're right. Then the 70s happened. So, then what? I mean, in the 70s, so what is that? 50 years ago? Is that how far we're going back? 50 years? Okay. You can go back that far. I'm not, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Mark Malone, don't get me started on Jamel Holloway. Look, my dad died in 1991, and Jamel Holloway could walk on water. He just thought he was the greatest quarterback to ever play the position. Him and that damn wishbone. Oh, my God. If I have to hear that one more time, which I haven't, I mean, it's been 34 years, and I'm just like, gee, many Chris. Jamel Holloway couldn't throw a ball 5 yards. But he didn't have to because they ran that damn wishbone. Ugh. So, well, look, people, I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for getting up this morning, talking some Steelers football. We absolutely appreciate it. Again, I want to give you guys a reminder. Memberships. We made changes, lowered the prices on the memberships for everybody at every level. So that's why it kicked you out if you haven't become or if you were a member and now you're not. You just have to re-up, and it'll be at a cheaper price. You may even consider moving up because the tier 4, the all pro level, is a lot lower, and the all pro level is where you get the all 22 access for every single game. You know, we break down the entire game for the all pro access. So you're going to want to get into that early. We're doing it now, and we're replaying all the games previously. You get access to a Facebook page, and it immediately takes you to the all pro or the all 22, excuse me. So make sure you sign up for that level if you haven't already. Appreciate that. Thank you guys. Tomorrow podcast will be up. Make sure you guys are around for that. We got some real good topics to talk to you guys. Again, go pick up your Steelers Almighty merch, man. Go pick it up. Steelers Almighty shop. Go there, sign. You don't even have to sign up. You just go there, click on it. We got hats. We got our Thunderbird shirts, glasses, mugs. We got everything there for you, man. I love this cup, this Steelers cup, man. The Steelers Almighty cup. It's great. It keeps everything nice and cold. We got multiple colors, multiple shirts, a lot of different stuff there for you guys to get before the season starts. So appreciate you guys, man. Glad you guys are in. Good morning. Have a great day the rest of the day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Aloha.